Hello, everyone. Welcome to Python Bytes again. And let's kick off the show. I'm excited about today. Hello, and welcome to Python Bytes, where we deliver Python news and headlines directly to your earbuds. This is episode 453, recorded October 16th, 2025. And I am Brian Ocken.
And I'm Michael Kennedy.
And this episode is sponsored by us. Check out Talk Python Training. Check out the complete PyTest course and other stuff over at so we got talkpython.fm and pythontest.com is where you want to head. And also, we want to thank our Patreon supporters because, yes, this episode is sponsored by us, but we don't really pay ourselves. You guys do. And the Patreon people do throw a few bucks our way. And we really appreciate that. So thanks. Also, love getting tips and extra topics and stuff sent our way. It doesn't matter whether we've heard it or not. It's okay to just send it. If you think it might be worth talking about on the show, send it our way. And you can connect with us on Blue Sky and Mastodon and all of the places. So,
yeah, more often than not, Brian, people say, I'm sure you've heard of, and we haven't heard of.
We haven't heard of it yet. Because unlike you guys, we don't have a good news podcast about Python to listen to.
Exactly.
So, if you'd like to be a part of the show or watch past recordings, head on over to pythonbytes.fm/live and you can be part of our audience. We've done a couple. Today's a Thursday at 10 sort of a day, and various reasons, but usually it's Monday at 10. We'll let you know if that ever changes, but you don't have to just memorize that because at pythonbytes.fm/live, it'll tell you when the next one is. And speaking of next ones, we should talk about something interesting, Michael. What do you got for us?
Yes. We've got PyPI, and just for new folks out there, not PyPI, not PyPI. That's happening less. People used to say I installed it from PyPI a lot, and that's not so much the thing. But the next one, PyPI ++, well, 1+. It's not quite a C++, ++. Do you wish that Python had ++ instead of +=1?
I don't really increment that much, actually. So
okay, your numbers just stay the same. That's fine.
Well, I mean, in C++, we increment it all the time because that's how you do for loops. And
true. Yeah, that's a good point, actually. Yeah, you shouldn't be doing that in a for loop.
No.
Okay. I don't miss it that much, but ++ used to be sort of the next thing. So I want to talk about this thing called PyPI Plus, the next one. So this is just a different UI on top of PyPI search with some extra information. And I ran across this, and I don't know where I saw it, but it's really neat. I really like it. It's discover all the packages with interactive dependency visualization. So you can come in here and you can put in something like content types. I talked about that recently. This is a little library I have that, given a file, it'll tell you what like web content type or MIME type it needs to be, and vice versa, as the little thing says. And you click on it, and it says, well, what is it? But look, it shows you the author, the version, the license, the size, how many things depend upon it. Look at this. So you can expand the section to see where it is, and it's spinning and spinning. I don't know what it's looking for, but this dependence, I believe that means there's another package out there on PyPI that depends on my package, which is kind of cool. You can also bump through the different releases and show you who is dependent upon these releases even. It gives you a score. You come over here, a health score of your project. So this is something people ask about a lot or want to know about a lot. Like, how do I decide if a library that I'm looking at or that Michael or Brian recommended is a good thing or a bad thing? I mean, obviously, malware is something you should consider in supply chain attacks, but just, is it well maintained? Is it a good choice to build upon, right? And so this has a rating, and apparently my content type thing is 93 out of 100, and it's getting dinged for mostly because it's pretty new. It's not that old. It's only got 5 releases, and I think I created it beginning of the year or something like that.
Yeah.
And it also has no documentation. I mean, it has documentation in the README, but it doesn't have a read the docs documentation separate from what it just says in the README. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And so that's bringing down its score, but it still has got an A, which is 93 out of 100. That's pretty good. What do you think of this thing?
Actually, I was poking around on it on my sets, my own. Search for PyTest check because one of the things I've got more dependence on mine.
Okay.
And well, you can do. I can pop it up also.
I got it. PyTest check.
One of the things you can do is this. The first one. I got an A. Yay, 96%.
Yay, 96. You probably have documentation. No, you don't.
What?
But it's also, like me, it has, well, you've got a lot more dependence, right? So,
yeah, one of the things I think is kind of neat, the dependence is fun. I didn't really know how to look for that before. There's probably a way. But the dependent, like rating the dependencies also, because there are dependency, the things that you're bringing in have a score also, and you can look at what their score is, and you can look at like their you can just traverse down the dependency tree. And that's
I think that's great. I think actually your score should somewhat include the score of your dependents, the things you depend upon.
Maybe.
You know what I mean? Right?
Yeah.
Like if I have an A++ score, but I depend on a thing that's got an F, well, how stable is my thing, you know?
Yeah, and also it's interesting that you can go by version too, because sometimes you add or remove dependencies with versions too. So it's kind of there's a lot of stuff going on here. Yeah, it's kind of fun.
Absolutely, this is really neat. I recommend people check it out. I think I'm going to use this for exploring packages. I generally just default to GitHub. Like I'll go to PyPI to see if it's there. And then I'm like, okay, just get me to GitHub so I can get a real view of this thing. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But I actually like this quite a bit. And so I might start using this as kind of a default way. You know what you can do is you see how it's got the URL is just PyPI plus /project/project name.
Yeah.
You can set up a custom search, not shebang, but a custom search keyword in your browser. So I could type like P plus space and then search whatever I put into my URL address bar would just pull up this page searching for whatever you put. So you could make it basically a built-in search engine to your browser. So I might do that actually. Haven't done it yet.
Or just go up and change the URL to whatever package name you want.
I know, but then you got to go to the place. I'm talking when you just have an open tab. Right? Like I'm just in my browser. Like I want to search, does this exist on PyPI? So right now I type PyPI space and then some package name, and then it will pull me up to the search results on PyPI.
Oh, you're hardcore. Okay.
Yeah, you could do that here, right? You could just say Py plus or whatever. Anyway, I really like it. I would like to. What's weird about there's something weird about this in that it has no attribution. No, I can't tell who is behind it. I can't tell if there's a GitHub project. It literally is unknown what the heck. There's no contact us. There's no built by. It's a little weird that it's like secretive like that, and I don't know why. I don't think it's dangerous because you don't install from here, and it's just like a front end on top of existing data. But there are just like weird bugs. Like for example, what would I write if I was writing Python? I'd write import, not pytest -check. I would write pytest _check. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, that doesn't exist if I search for it, even though they're equivalent. So I have like one package called Jinja partials, which is awesome. I love this one. And it's Jinja _partials. It is 95, by the way. Hooray. But if I put Jinja -partials, nope, doesn't exist. Couldn't see that. There's no package called that. And vice versa. I have a fast API chameleon that does have the dash, but the Python thing is underscore. Like, so there's just like a little bit of weirdness like this. And I would love to go, hey, whoever built this, I want to use this thing. It's cool. But incredibly simple normalization on your search results would be so good. You know what I mean?
Yeah. So it looks like PyPI does do that. Like the search for
Yeah, so
both or
PyPI, Jinja partials. Yeah. And if I put the dash, yeah, it pulls up both.
so,
Right. It's yeah, exactly.
so cool.
Exactly. So it should here. But other than that, this thing is quite neat. So
Yeah.
a fun place to play and explore packages.
All right. I think we're both covering some alpha things here because I'm gonna talk about a couple more alpha things. First off, well, I don't know if it's alpha. A project called UV Ship. Yep, it's zero verse, so I'm gonna call it alpha. But I'm kind of think it's sort of fun. So I've got because of the update to 3.14. I want to make sure that all my projects, definitely all the ones I support, even the ones that I think I'm the only one using them, I'd like to update stuff. And I've realized that I have like three shipping pipelines that I'm using. Like I've changed how I published PyPI over the years, and I kind of want to go back to just one version. And I like just being able to. I know there's a lot of opinions around this, but I like to be able to make sure everything's pretty good, and then push a version number, and then and do a. I can't remember whether I do a version first and then create a release on GitHub, and those two things kind of have to happen, and one of those can trigger the publish to PyPI. Um, and I'm kind of going back and forth as to which one should trigger that. But anyway, there's a pushing of a version that has to happen. This UV ship tool is based on UV, but it does a lot of this stuff. It like what does it do? It said it verifies the repo state, so make sure that you don't have anything checked out because you should be at the point that you're not checking out, and that you're on the right release branch. Because there's some configuration you have to set up, but it's the defaults are fine. Verifies the repo state, bumps your project metadata, so bumps your version number, and refresh. You can have it update the change log, and it even like pops up a dialog that says you should go manually edit this right now. And then it commits, tags, pushes, and all that stuff in. And each step of the way, it reviews. So I've done it has a dry run mode that it talks about, so you can UV tool install it so that it's everywhere. And then you could do a dry run like next minor or next major or next. I can't remember the bug. I always think of it as bug fix, but it's something else. Patch release. Um, and then it pretends that it's doing it if you do the dry run, and it tells you everything that it's doing. And I'm like, that's exactly what I wanted it to do. Awesome. So I think I'm gonna try this out a little bit, and I think I'm gonna change my workflow to be the to make sure that I match this because it's a pretty reasonable workflow. So and that way I can when I'm done with something, I can just go to the right branch and just make it so. So and I like the idea of throwing it in uh a tool thing because or as a UV tool have it installed everywhere because I don't really want to have that be a dependency on my package because it's not really it's a workflow thing. But anyway, UV tool. Took a look at the repo. It's got 29 stars so far, but it's pretty new. Looks like just kind of started last week. So yeah, from Florian Raths.
Yeah, it
UV
looks really
ship.
interesting. That caught my attention as well. I've got some old repos that only have 29 stars.
Yeah, 29, not bad.
No, it's off to a good start. It's pretty cool. I like the idea. I just learned that UV has this version bumping feature, and yeah, it's quite nice. I was using it as well.
I was surprised it doesn't have a ship button. Or UV publish isn't a thing though.
Yeah, it is.
Is
It is
it?
now.
Oh,
Yeah,
okay.
you can do UV build and UV publish, and on top of that, you can do UV publish dash T, and that will specify that you're using the token instead of your username. So effectively setting the username like to underscore token underscore whatever you got to type if you just say like a twine publish or whatever. So yeah, it's got a really nice publish feature.
I mean, so it's kind of like Twine then. Because I like right now, I want to move everything over to trusted publishing, but I still have a couple of things that are not. So
Do you trust yourself? I mean, that's the question.
well, I don't actually.
Sometimes I don't trust myself either. That is so true. That is so true. Okay, before we move off this UV thing, really quick, I just learned yesterday. I'm working on a project. I have always projects going, these little projects that I'm playing with, and more I'm building fun little utilities for me, and they should be installed UV tool install. I want them broadly, but I'm not ready to put them on PyPI for sure. I don't really even want to put them on GitHub. And so the way I used to make those tools, I would say UV tool install either the thing from PyPI, like content types, or maybe which has a entry point script that becomes a command, right? Or I would put it on GitHub as a public repo and do the git plus or whatever you do, and it'll install it from there. I just learned yesterday that you can say UV tool install is it -e? I think it's -e dot from a GitHub repository with a project, and that will install the tool in editable mode. So you just keep editing, and the tool is like a public, like a machine-wide command, but it's not coming from somewhere else. It's just coming from your working GitHub repo.
Not a GitHub repo, but your
I mean, like your directory
local
where you've checked. Yeah. That's what I mean. Your local directory. Isn't that cool?
Oh, cool. Kind of like you can do pip install -e dot,
right,
and it just installs the local thing. So
yeah, exactly. It's exactly the same, but it puts it into the UV tool install workflow, so it becomes like managed and global.
That's pretty cool.
Yeah, because the pip install -e is like just if you've activate that virtual environment sort of thing.
Yeah.
So very nice.
There's not a lot of harm in publishing to PyPI. I mean, people can't give you negative stars or anything. So
nope. No, I just don't want to commit to having the thing the way it is. I just want to play with it before I even decide I want to put it out in the world. You know what I mean? But I want the coolness of the UV tool install equivalent that I don't have to like juggle to find it.
Nice.
There it is. Yep.
Okay.
Well, let's talk about the speed of the new Python. We have a couple of new Python stories. I know you got a new Python thing. I got a new Python thing at the end in our extras, but 3.14 has felt like it's going to come, it's going to happen. But no, here we are. We're just after the release of 3.14. You know that because Halloween is coming. So Miguel Grinberg wrote a nice article called Python 3.14 is here. How fast is it? It might surprise people to see what the graphs say. So there's a lot of graphs.
Okay.
It also has a caveat. Like, these are small scale benchmarks. So please don't be mad at me if your use case is different than my use case. You know what I mean? That's how benchmarking goes. It's always fraught with, yeah, it's faster if you loop like that. But I do this other thing and mine is slower. So with that, as I said, there's a whole bunch of comparisons around here. So one of the biggest ones, I think the theme that comes away from this more than just there's some interesting trends, is the free-threaded versus guild. Can we call it guild? That's like the opposite of free-threaded, right? The guild of Python. The gilded age of Python. So there's a big comparison and sort of difference between the free-threaded version and the standard traditional style. Another thing that's interesting is 3.11 was a big speed bump in performance. I think that was probably the biggest performance jump for Python, pretty much period.
Yeah.
At least in the modern recent times, 3.11 is the year over year the fastest jump, I think. That's really when this faster CPython fruit came to be harvested, even though it was done in 3.11 and 3.9 and 3.10 rather. And then it was almost flat, not 100% flat, but almost flat. And 3.14 is a little bit better, but there's a really interesting drop here. Also, PyPI, and I mean it this time, PyPI, 3.11 is 5 times faster or something, just eyeballing it on the graph, than 3.14. So there's still that. That said, I never run PyPI. I'm not against it. I like the project. I think it's cool. I think it's great people are doing that. But it just, all my projects, it's like, well, this dependency doesn't work with it, so nope, can't use it. You know what I mean? It's the whole 2 versus 3 problem.
Yeah,
again,
we haven't
but
talked about it for a while, so just in case people aren't sure, pypy.org is the project, and it's not C Python, it's Python implemented in Python, correct? Is that, I think that's
Yeah, I believe so. And it's odd that it's faster, right? But it's fully JIT compiled, which is the deal. That's why it's faster. So, but still, 314 faster. Cool. But this next picture here is getting to the interesting comparison. So you've got standard, and you've got the micro JIT, I guess, that Python has now, right? It's got the find a couple of instructions and do optimizations on it, but there's not a broad level optimization compared here. And then there's also the free threaded Python. And across the board, I guess actually this picture is this is pretty positive. 313 standard versus JIT, basically no difference. Actually, the JIT one's a little bit slower on some of these, but again, these are really small micro benchmarks, so it doesn't have a chance to like build up its sort of JIT advantage. It pays the startup cost of it, but not I don't know how much it's helping over time. Anyway, those are about the same, but the free threaded version is probably 20% slower or more than regular Python. And I thought free threading was supposed to be fast, Brian. What's going on here?
well, it's a benchmark that isn't using thread. So.
So what this is showing is it says if you are running in the free threaded Python, not even if you're using threading, not all of your code is going to be multi-threaded, right? Most of your code probably isn't, but some of it will. And that part presumably is computationally heavy, so you'll get a big boost there. But the parts where it's not, you actually pay a price to slow it down. But here's the interesting takeaway from this graph is in 313, that's like 25% slower. It's a problem. In 314, it's almost the same. That's a really big deal.
It's a smidge. The overhead is less.
It's a smidge slower to do one thread on free threaded Python, but it's removed so much of that. You're paying a huge penalty in your regular code, right? So that's actually really cool. Now here's somewhere down here. If I go, I got to find more threads. Okay. They have the multi-threaded one here. There we go. Now this is the graph. There's a 4-thread version that says we're going to do true multi-threading. Look at the standard Python versus free threaded. Well, I can't quite tell which is better, but on Linux, I think the 4 threads it's not quite 4 times faster, but it's pretty close. It's a lot better.
Yeah.
And also this is true that 313 to 314, the 313 version is maybe double the speed with 4 threads. The 314 is almost 4 times, like at least 3 times faster. So it's a really good story. I think the takeaway here is that 314 is not much faster, but the multi-threading doesn't have so many penalties, but it does also have the benefits, which is exactly what you want.
Yeah.
There's still a compatibility story. Can you use free threading because of your dependencies and so on? But at least the runtime behavior is kind of in line with where you would expect. So awesome.
It also it's interesting that the using threads without threads, without free threading is faster on 14 than 13. Like 14 got faster anyway, even if you're not free threading.
Yeah, that's cool. Awesome. Yeah. So there's a whole lot more stuff going on here and comments down here if you want to get into them. But that's the main takeaway.
Oh, phew. I thought you were going to tell me that like 14 was slower or something.
No, I don't think so. But it's not so here's the thing. It's not a tremendous boost for the regular one. That's not a reason not to upgrade, right? There's other benefits to it, but
yeah, and that also, I guess, make sense why we still have two versions. We're shipping two versions of Python.
Yeah, exactly. Luckily, we have UV, so it's like a no op to use one or the other.
Yeah, it's one extra character to type.
Exactly.
Yeah. Okay. It's lighter than air to switch, maybe. Speaking of air,
Lighter than air. Here you go.
So there's a new project, and it is pretty new. So there's a project called Air from the Felderoys, Daniel and Audrey, and they're the folks that brought us 2 scoops of Django. So this is a project called Air, and it's not that old either. Looks like a month or so, maybe. A lot of activity just recently, but it's already up to 525 stars. So we're watching it. And what is Air? Air is a new web framework that breathes fresh air into Python web development. It's built on top of Fast API, Starlet, and Pedantic. And there is I haven't really played with it, but it's some interesting stuff. One of the interesting things that is these air tags, and I personally not sure how I feel about this, but it's sort of fun. Looking at down at some examples, I'm guessing that these air tags are these things like air.html, air.h1, so you can sort of programmatically generate HTML from it. But apparently, if you want a mix of that, so you've got some stuff that's dynamic that you're using these air tag things to generate your HTML, you can also do Jinja 2 templates at the same time. And so that's kind of cool. So you can kind of mix them in wherever it makes sense in your application. And I'd love to hear more about like the thought process around this, but interesting and from some interesting people. And I was taking a look at this, and I'm like, uh, plus the logo is kind of cute, but the if you go to why, it's this is why I wanted to cover this, because it's awesome. It says Air is it's highly unstable and experimental web framework. We've not officially launched to the public yet. Every release could break your code. If you have to ask why you should use it, it's probably not for you. It gets better. If you want to use Air, you can, but we don't recommend it. It's not enterprise ready and will likely never be. At least definitely not before the official launch. It also will likely infect you, your family, and your code bases with an evil web framework mind virus. This is good. Distracting you and that you'll never ship and everything. So it's just they recommend not using Air, but I think it's just really good writing, and maybe reverse psychology. So um, kind of some fun mix of HTMX friendly stuff, some of the best practices, and I guess reminding folks, these folks are building websites all the time, so I'm interested to watch what they come up with here.
Yeah, looks very interesting. We'll see if it. I don't know. I have no air metaphors. But yeah, it's an interesting project.
All right. Those are our main topics. Do you have any extras?
I sure do. I have a couple. I can go through quick. Some are quick, some are not as quick, but all pretty quick.
Okay.
So I already talked. The Talk Python and Production book is out. It's doing great. By the way, Brian, something that is really kind of mind blowing to me, but also really cool. If you come over here to the ratings, #1 in software engineering on Amazon right now. That's awesome.
Wow.
I know. And in
That's
application
great.
development. Thank you. It's crazy. So I just want to, the only thing is I've already announced that before, but it's doing really well. And I wrote a blog post sort of about some of the motivation behind it and some of the different things that people can check out and so on. So I'll link to that blog post. Next, here's one of these little tools that I created that I was telling you about that would be really perfect to UV tool install -e sort of thing. Although I published it. Did I publish it? No, it's not on PyPI yet, I don't believe. Yeah, it is. It is on PyPI. I did publish this one. I have a couple going. It's confusing. So this one, here, let me give you a problem, okay, Brian? You're working with your AI tools, your agentic AI, And one of the the never ending problems of working with these is if you run out of credits, you're either done for the month or you have to switch to pay as you go billing. Like, for example, I had the $16 a month cursor plan, and then I started doing a whole bunch of projects. It was super successful. I'm like, I'm going to keep using this on the thing. But I ran out of credits, so I had to switch. I paid like $250 in credits, overage credits for a month, which I paid gladly because it solved tons of problems. If that was a person I hired to do that, it would have both taken months instead of days, and it would have taken more than $200. That said, knowing like, do I need to slow down, or am I going to have a whole bunch of leftover prepaid credits with whatever plan you have? Knowing that is really helpful. So I created this really simple TUI that you run it, and you configure it to know what your renewal day is. So if every month on the 16th your credits renew, and it's the 24th of the prior month, let's say, and you've used 30% of your credits, if you keep going like that, are you going to run out, or are you going to have a bunch left? In which case, maybe you tackle a bigger project that you know is going to burn up a bunch of credits, waiting or something like that. So all you do is you run this thing called AI usage. You type in whatever percent your little tool tells you, like this picture here says you've used 35% of your credit. Okay, AI usage 35. It says, cool. Well, guess what? It's only day 12 of 31 out of your renewal days. So if you've used 25%, that's actually, or whatever, this example is 25. So that's actually 13% less than if you were like on average using all of them. And so you're going to have, by the end, only use 64%. So you're going to have like 35% more you can go grind on. So go be ambitious, or choose the more expensive but better resulting model or something like that. So that's a little utility I built for people.
That's cool.
Thanks. Let me rephrase that. I built it for myself, and then I just put it out there because I thought people might find it useful.
You built it for other people that you actually also find useful.
Exactly. All right. Then I did this little thread called Show Me Your LS, and unfortunately I use sans serif fonts, so it just looks like it says Show Me Your Is. But, whatever. Like, I can't do. I'm not changing my web fonts just for one post. Anyway, I wrote a blog post called Show Me Your LS, and just trying to encourage people like, hey, play with some of these fun tools and so on. So if you look at the default terminal experience on Mac, even on a $3,000 Mac running 2025 latest OS, it's dreadful. You know what I mean? Like, oh my gosh, it has like the folder name, then dash bash, dash bash, dash bash. It's just like, oh my God, what is this thing? So anyway, I just should put what I'm using out there now. So right now I'm using this one that basically shows icons for the different file types. It uses the git ignore to show hidden or unhidden files and like developer conventions, and it shows the file size and human readable sizes and stuff like that. So I just thought I wanted to inspire people to play around a little. So people can check that out.
Weird. Sorry.
You bailed. You're back. You're back. All right. Yeah. So people want to check out this little blog post and get inspired about making your terminal better. Also, have you heard of Helium, the browser?
I think you mentioned, maybe. I don't know.
Maybe.
I think I have.
Okay. So it's the best privacy and unbiased ad blocker by default. So it comes built in with like ad block or ad block plus. I don't know what, some kind of ad block. It's one of the better ad blocks as part of the thing, and it's based on Chrome and so on. And it's kind of neat. It's basically a Chromium browser. It's not pulling me away from Vivaldi at any moment right now. I really like the way Vivaldi works and the customizations and the side tabs and all that kind of stuff. But I was just poking around like, oh, that's interesting. I'm always here for like understanding new browsers. Come over to the GitHub repo, see what it says about languages. 97.4% Python.
Oh, wow. That's cool.
Yeah. So it's not that the entire browser is Python, because it just is wrapping Chromium, which is C, C++, something like that. But what's interesting is if you just look around, it's full of all these little Python scripts to basically take Chromium and build it into an entire browser, which I thought was pretty interesting. So people might want to look around this repo.
Yeah, we could
Yeah.
use a handful of forks then to make some cool stuff.
Yeah, exactly. All right. The last thing, this is super short. I present to you the world's smallest CPython release, 3.13.9 final, released yesterday. It has literally one change, inspect get source lines, and that change is to deal with the case when a decorator is followed by a comment and then the function. Something about the lines gets messed up. Amazing that they released it. I mean, I know it's important for certain things, but it's normally these things are just like scroll, like changes. So anyway, 3.13.9 is out, though it's likely it's not something you need to rush out and install. You should install 3.14 anyway.
Yeah, maybe it was just a schedule, whatever's in there.
Yeah, perhaps. Yeah, exactly.
Later.
All right, over to you.
Well, we have another release that I was going to talk about, which is 3.15. So 3.15 Alpha 1 is out already. Hugo posted a couple days ago. And major new features. Okay, so it's pretty new stuff already because but it's rolling out so people can. There's a play with it. Dedicated profiling package for profiling tools. This one's actually kind of cool. PEP 686. Python now uses UTF-8 as the default encoding.
Okay.
It has kind of bugged me that when I encode stuff, it doesn't default to UTF-8, but now it does. So that's good. Actually, it doesn't really bug me that much because I usually just specify the UTF-8 encoding.
Yeah.
So
I do too, but you don't want to forget, and it's not like an enumeration. It's a string. You got to just type UTF-8, and what if you don't put the dash?
So
and,
there'll be less of that typing now. It'll be good. Anyway, one of the things that I think while we were talking about last week about testing for 3.14, you may as well get while you're mucking with your Toxini file, you can go ahead and turn on 3.15 testing just in case something comes up in 3.15 that makes it you have to modify it. I probably wouldn't put it in CI right now, or somehow put it in CI that it doesn't stop you from shipping. But for local testing, why not? And to help you with local testing, you can already pip install it with, or not pip install it, but you can UV Python install 3.15 because Astral's UV supports 3.15 now. So that's cool.
I'm glad Astral exists.
Yeah. I could never remember how to install the alpha releases and stuff, and it's easy now. Okay. I threatened to write a few blog posts, so I did. Lazy imports, we talked about it, might come in. It's a proposal that hasn't been accepted yet for 3.15. But you can there's techniques for using lazy imports right now, and these are not complicated. This isn't something extra you install, but I posted Python lazy imports you can use today on pythontest.com. And also, just a quick rundown of all the things that I mostly wrote it for me, all the things I change when I add some testing for a new version. So I updated testing against 3.14, and almost immediately got some feedback to add. I tried to give a shout out. Christian Klaus said, "Hey, you forgot free threading." So I added a section to all the stuff I changed to support free threaded Python.
Nice. Not the guild version.
Not the guild, but non-fish version. So it's just mostly adding a 3.14t in a couple places. Yeah. But I was checking out. I'm like, well, do I need to do something special about the Trove classifiers? And I went and looked, and I didn't realize this before. You can add a free threading Trove classifier now if you want to broadcast that you're supporting free threading on PyPI. You can add that. And there's also how stable it is. So there's non free threaded stability, but apparently you can have stable, unstable beta resilient as far as free threading goes. So if you're working on supporting it and it mostly works, you can sort of advertise that if you want, I guess.
Yeah,
so
lovely. I didn't know about the Trove classifiers either. Going forward, that's going to be a thing.
Yeah. And I guess that's it for our extras.
All right. I got a joke for you, obviously.
Yay.
This one is a Linux joke. Are you familiar with Arch Linux?
Vaguely.
Vaguely. So I'm pretty much me as well. But the zen of Arch Linux is that it's the absolute minimal, most empty thing setup that then you choose like, oh, I want to have this kind of shell. Oh, I want to have this feature. And everything is adding it in, right?
Oh, okay.
Okay. So there's, some upside to that. So anyway, the joke is, here we have the small, presumably geeky little programmer type in an orange jumpsuit in a jail sitting next to the biggest, toughest looking thug you can imagine. The thug says, I killed a man. You? Little character looks over and says, I installed apt on Arch Linux. Dude, what? The guy's creeped. Like the big thug is like all creeped out. What are you doing, bro? God, get away from me. It's good, right?
Yeah.
See, you got the comments. Kind of want to do this now. Go ahead. Love it. I love it how I can understand these jokes now. Someone says, like, I'm getting good at Linux. I know what it means.
Okay. What is apt? Do you know?
Apt? Yeah. It's the thing you install. It's like the pip of Ubuntu and stuff. You apt install.
Okay. Just
GCC.
Outed myself for not using Linux for a very long time. So, yeah.
Dude, no, get away from me, you monster. Anyway, I thought it was fun.
Yeah, that's fun.
Yeah.
Plus, the art is nice.
The art is lovely. Yeah, the art is really good. I think I appreciate art a little bit more now that there's a lot of like vibe in art, When people, you see real art, you're like, that's nice.
Yeah. And this isn't art, but we commented before we started recording. I'm just loving the kind of the blue lighting that my robot is experiencing right now today.
That's nature's light.
It's good. Nature's light. Yeah, it's cold out. Anyway, awesome episode today again. And thanks, Michael. Thanks everybody for listening. We'll catch you next week.